In order to build this device, we need to gather our components: the PCB, headers, capacitor, 7805, ATtiny13, FETs, and our resistors. We'll start with R1 to R3. These are all 2.7K resistors. Solder them in place and trim off excess wire. Next, we move on to R7 through R9. Each of these is a 470 ohm resistor. Finally, we have R4 through R6, which is 39K resistors. Next, I move on to installing the FETs. Bend the pins first, solder one pin in place, make sure they're sitting how you'd like, and then solder the other two pins for each FET. Follow the same procedure for the 7805. Trim off the excess on these pins. Now put in place the holder for your ATtiny. Ensure that you have the orientation correct. Next, we move on to the capacitors. Once again, ensure that your positive and negative is in the correct place. Finally, we'll install the headers. Solder one pin, check they're sitting correctly, and then solder the rest of the pins. Now we'll move on to flashing the device. I'm using a USB ASP, which I've modified so it has a longer lead. Plug it into a USB port and connect the ATtiny as per schematics. I'm using a breadboard here. Move into AVR Dudes 2.4, select USB ASP, click Detect, and you'll see that it has come up as an ATtiny13. Now let's read the fuse bits. You'll see here the defaults. Let's drag and drop our bin file into the flash box. Ensure that write is selected, and then click Go. You'll see in the status window that this will write, and it is now on your ATtiny. Now we must change the fuses. Ignore what I'm doing in the video. I set both here, but we need to set just the low first, so change that to 06A. Then hit write. Then we will do the high bit at 0xFE and click write. You'll see now that we can no longer detect the ATtiny, and if we try and read the fuse bytes, it will no longer show us anything. It's all done, so let's take the chip out of our breadboard and put it into the PCB. Be careful not to bend pins here. We need to check that the small dot matches up to the notch for the orientation of the ATtiny. Press it into place. Once again, be careful not to bend pins, and press it home. And now that's the finished product.